everyone. My name is Hannah Bothner, and I am the short film program director for Tallgrass Film Festival. Today, we are here with some lovely filmmakers from our comedy short film block. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we will get started here for this virtual Q&A. Carlos, why don't you start?
Okay, I'm Carlos Gómez-Trigo. I am the director, the producer, and the screenwriter of the short film Survivors. And thank you so much for the selection and for the Q&A.
Absolutely. And Joshua?
Hi there, I'm Joshua Reeves. I am the director and writer of Oxtail. And thank you for inviting me.
And on to Dava and Steve.
Hi, I'm Dava Whisenant. I'm the director, producer, editor, and DP of Brief Survey.
And I'm Steve Young. I am the writer of Brief Survey and the main actor in it.
I actually want to talk about that. Steve, are you, do you have an acting background? Was this kind of your first time delving into that?
I used to work on the Letterman show, but I was mostly in the back room as a writer.
Yeah.
Occasionally I would get put in a bit, which was kind of scary because oftentimes it was something live in front of an audience and you're like out on the tightrope. So the short answer is no, not really. But I had worked with Dava before and I was very confident that we were a good team. So I felt like we're going to do fine on this. So that was comforting.
Awesome. Yeah, I just a quick question in there about that, just because I know that it's not fully your background, but yeah, it was very fun to see you playing around with that role.
Well, 3 minutes long, I couldn't screw it up too bad.
And as we're getting Dava back here, that leads me into she's back. That leads me into I'm going to go ahead and ask that the question of you two of where did you get your inspiration to make this film? How did you get this idea?
You're talking to Dava and I still?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, well, Dava had been spending a lot of time during the pandemic in northern New Mexico, where she is now. And she said, this is such a crazy, beautiful place. If there's some way we could shoot something, even in this ugly, dark year of 2020. And so I wrote a couple of short film scripts and she said, good, come out. We're making both of them and you're in them. And so suddenly the train was leaving the station and we just got out there. It was super low budget. She shot 2 films with her iPhone. She's an amazing editor. So of course it ends up looking totally top level and legitimate. But for that one, it was just, I knew the terrain and the landscape was astonishing and just like makes you think of the most spiritual thoughts about being a human being on this amazing planet. And then how can we yank the rug out from under that with the most mundane, annoying bureaucracy in the universe, which is kind of the left turn that this film takes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, welcome here. We're just in the middle of things. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us what your film was and then your role with that film?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm Pierre. I'm one half of a directing duo called Big Red Button. Johnny may or may not be joining us. He's picking up his kids, I think. And we made a film called Dawn versus Lightning, which you guys were nice enough to put on.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to go continuing on this. Where did you get your inspiration? Where did the idea come from? Train. We'll go to Carlos for Survivors.
Yes, in my case, the idea was a kind of this conversation that you have sometimes with your friends, like in the middle of the night when you are having maybe more beers than you should. And yeah, we're talking about how stupid and dumb are we becoming as a society. And so maybe it's okay, let's put this into an extreme and let's create a set and a story about that and decide if something bad happened, if we deserve a second chance as a society.
Absolutely. And same question to you, Joshua. Where did the inspiration for your film come from?
Yeah, I think it came from just exposing myself really, because it's about language and dialect, and I think I was just always thinking like, why do I change the way that I'm speaking, or why do people change the way they're speaking when they're in certain like environments and stuff? And I thought I would put on a funny spin, and then it's heavily influenced by my dad because he's Caribbean, so he's got a thick Jamaican accent, and then when he's speaking to other people, he like puts on his posh British accent. So I'm like, it was, yeah, I took inspiration from both myself and my dad.
Love that. Pierre, what about you guys? Where'd the inspiration come? It's such a wild story.
Was actually based on a real story. Johnny came across it, so I forget exactly the exact details of the real thing. But there was a man who I think was struck 11 times by lightning over the period of about 10 years. And just, he got to the point where his friends would avoid him when the weather looked sketchy, and he would carry around bottles of water with him because he had to put his clothes out at such regular intervals. And we had like a long run of finding these unbelievable stories based in real life, and then really not being able to figure out how to turn it into more than a series of funny vignettes. So this one just went through a lot of mutations from real life until it turned into something where we were like, no, that's a story now. And so in the process of that, it moved to Scotland, largely because we're based in London and it was much cheaper to shoot up there than to try to fly out to Virginia. Find a crew there.
So speaking of, you've got these elements, you're working with the elements, you're working with some, supernatural type of like things that, you've got, what is the word I'm looking for? Special effects. There we go. You're working with a lot of special effects too. What were those really challenging to work with? Did you have other challenges that you ended up working with on the film? How did you, what was that process like of, working with lightning and all these special effects and the effect the lightning has on him?
Yeah, I mean, the actual physical effects, we were very lucky to have quite a good team to help us out with. We spent what we thought was going to be a really entertaining couple of hours watching people being struck by lightning, but it turns out that's actually pretty gruesome and pretty brutal. So we ended up, and often doesn't look, the real stuff doesn't look like you expect it to look on film. It happens so quickly that it just is over in a second. So we spent a long time just trying to figure out what the right level of fake lightning was to have. The bigger challenges were just when you're shooting in a landscape and you want a certain thing out of that landscape, it can not always cooperate. So the days we wanted to be rainy were bright and sunny, which is not what you expect for Scotland Highlands in October. And the days we wanted rain and the days we wanted to be sunny were, of course, just pissing down. We started the first day about a 3 or 4 hour drive from the nearest city, got there and found out that our sound recordist had gotten ill in the night. So we had reasonably big performers in this that we were trying to look professional in front of, and ended up recording the first 2 hours of the shoot on an iPhone, and looking like chumps, but they forgave us, so it worked out okay.
Speaking of special effects, Carlos, your film has some pretty gnarly special effects too. Can you talk about creating those and what that was like to film, and then the post process of that too?
Yes, in my case, I was the special effects, the physical special effects were basically like blood. So the thing is that, of course, we have to make the blood, but also we take different meat from real animals. So the people went to the butcher and take some kind of meat to make it more real. So that was like normal, but the problem was that was because our short film is like the characters is wearing a helmet with a LED light. And so what we didn't measure enough was how the blood will have enough effect over the light. So when I was in the set shooting, that was, oh my God, this is perfect, this is everything amazing. But then the problem comes when we went into the editing part and I realized that, oh fuck, I don't see any blood. I just see the shape, that there is anything there. So in that case, in that moment, we have to go to VFX, and we had to add the blood in post-production. So that was a kind of tricky thing. I didn't like it because I really want to have everything that was like physical, but that was the only situation. And of course, when you film outside, you have more problems, like Pierre once said about with the weather. We have like in the last, we have only 2 days for shooting, and the last day was only for the last shot. That is a one take shot, and it's like 3 minutes. So we need a lot of time to rehearse and a lot of time to prepare everything. And at the end, it rains. There was a lot of wind. We have a lot of problems. So I have like, my calculus were like 6 hours to film that, and we have only 1 hour. So there was like, I was almost panicking, but it works.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all that matters is the end product, right? Joshua, you have far fewer special effects than some of the other films, but you do have a really incredible cast. Can you talk about finding your cast and helping them to find these characters and to perform what you wrote?
Yeah, sure. I think it was because I lived in London, but then came back to Manchester, where I'm originally from. So I wanted to basically make this film all Manchester-based cast. So it was kind of difficult to try to find these people, and especially to find a middle-aged Black man that can speak Caribbean, but is also British and acts. So that was quite a difficult process. But I think they all did like really well, and they were basically they felt the story the way that I did. So they were taking the characters from like their family members, so it made it natural. So we did have a lot of rehearsals, and because it was only 2 locations, it was quite straightforward to rehearse. But I feel like it was kind of natural to most of them because they could identify with exactly what I was trying to say. So yeah, I mean, it made my job a whole lot easier.
Absolutely. So I want to talk next about, I think a few of you for sure made the film during the pandemic. You've got all of these challenges to overcome. You've got all of these, we've talked about special effects and lightning and raining and wind and all these elements. At the end of the day, you've got this end product. What are you most proud of about your film? The end product, what are you most proud of? We're going to talk to Steve and Dava first.
I think for me, I'm most proud of the fact that it makes people laugh. I mean, we were feeling so kind of depressed, obviously, like many people, and just being able to find a way to do something that took you out of that feeling for a little bit. That was really the main thing. It just, we wanted to do something fun and creative, and I think that part worked. So yeah.
Anything to add, Steve?
I was very happy with these 2 short films that we proved that our earlier collaborations were not just a fluke, and that in fact, no, we should keep doing this because we keep getting the results we want and people are happy with it. So confirming that was a lot of fun, as well as just the end result of these films was very fun.
Awesome. Well, what about you, Pierre? What are you most proud of? Oh, you're on mute.
Well, always a good way to start. 2 years and I still can't master that. I think just managing to produce anything over the period, we're always excited when we manage to get something done that's not for someone else, that's just for us. And it's always like an embarrassing learning curve that somehow gets smoothed over by everyone else's professionalism. So yeah, I think just having a finished product, and I can't say how exciting it's been to actually see it in cinemas. It's these digital, the digital editions of these festivals have been great, but it's amazing when you do actually get a chance to see people sitting in front of it and watching it.
Absolutely. Same question to you, Joshua.
Yeah, I'm just most proud of making a film during the pandemic and getting it into festivals, because I've never done that before. And yeah, just trying to put Manchester and the films like on the map, can we say that? So I just think I want to just continue to do that, because that's like one of my goals of being a filmmaker, to tell stories about where I come from. And I don't know, like when people think about England, they might think about London and that's it, but there's other parts and there's other stories that can be told. And yeah, so that's what I'm most proud of, I would say.
Absolutely. And Carlos?
From my personal vision as a director, I would say that find people in the team that I work really good with them, like the director of photography, the musician, the sound designer, we click quite good, and I'm really proud of that. And then of course, when you see that the movie is going to festivals and there's like people that react, you say, okay, it's good, because sometimes I'm a little, I make something really bad, I don't like it, I'm quite critical with my own stuff. But so it's nice to see that people has this kind of reaction.
Incredible. Well, I want to thank you all so much for your incredible films. Definitely, you know, felt all the love and creativity from them, like just pouring out of the screen. And I want to thank you all for being here today. I've got one last question for you all. We'll go around the horn. What are you working on next? What would you like to point people towards? What would you like to plug? We will start with you, Carlos.
Okay, I'm working now. I have like 2 screenplays, like short screenplays that I'm trying to develop. So my idea is to, for the next year, having one of those short screenplays made, and in the meantime, working in a feature film screenplay. This is my dream. Complicated, but that's right.
Yeah. And you, Joshua?
Yeah, I'm working on my next film, and it's a more serious topic, so it probably won't be for this festival next year. But
hey,
so
we have
that's
other
on,
programs.
Oh, do you?
We could put it in the
Right,
drama
okay,
program too.
You put it in the drama one. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good to know. Well, yeah, so I'm gonna do a more serious film on a topic of racial profiling and sexual abuse. So I'm developing that now. Well, the script's done. I'm just waiting for the budget to be signed off. And yeah, you can catch me on Instagram, Joshua_who. Yeah, and yeah, that's the only real project that I've got going on that I think will be made within, you know, the next six months or so.
Perfect. And Steve?
Oh boy, well, Dava and I have written several longer scripts now, TV pilot scripts that we're getting out into the world, and we're actually about to go to the Austin Film Festival because one of our scripts got to the semi-finalist round, which is pretty cool. So
awesome.
I'm sure we'll do more shorts, but lately we've been trying to focus on some longer form things.
Love it. Anything to add, Dava?
Yeah, I mean, we're also doing work independently, and Steve wrote a feature-length screenplay, and I'm directing a couple of documentaries that are in various stages of production. And I'm at Cactus Flower Films on Instagram. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you for having us too.
Yeah, thank you.
So we love Tallgrass so much. So
yeah, I should have addressed this, but to the audience out there, you will remember Steve and Dava from Bathtubs Over Broadway a few years ago, which people talked about for, I'm pretty sure, the entire festival and then the entire year after. In the best ways, of course.
Thanks very much.
And Pierre, what about you? What have you got coming down the pipe?
my understanding was once you make a short film, you can basically just retire. So I'm just waiting for the checks to roll in. We've got a whole bunch of small projects bouncing around, but nothing really concrete at the moment. So if anybody wants to send us amazing Oscar-winning scripts, we'd happily take a look at them.
Absolutely. And where can they send those to? You got a Twitter. They can DM the entire script into your Twitter.
Yeah. We're at bigredbutton.tv. We're not
Perfect.
quite cool enough to have worked out Instagram or anything past MySpace yet.
Yeah.
But yes. The internet.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much. Sounds like there's some really incredible things coming from all of you that we need to be on the lookout for. And thank you all so much for being here today and for lending us your time and for your allowing us to show your films to the audience. Thank you all so much. And thank you all out there for tuning in.
Thanks, Anna.
Thanks very much.